Hey everybody, Mature Simmer here. Alright, we are here. We are loaded up. Just moving along a little quicker. Because again, we are set here for what we need. We can't seem to get clearance. I've called a couple times. They're saying contact tower, but there's no tower here. So I'm on departure. There's a little bit of a problem. We'll see. We did get VFR, but we'll see if we get yelled at for taking off without approval again like we did last leg. Hopefully not. Alright, we're going to set ourselves to 2500. Goodness. All kinds of fun. Alright. So, we're going to autopilot, yaw damper. I'm going to pick up the wheels, pick up the flaps. Alright, we're going to get ourselves on CTAF. We didn't get yelled at, so I think we're okay. So, but we're heading out. And, you know, we floated a little bit that way, so while we were doing things, but we are heading out here. So, let's just get you up to speed on what this leg is. Pretty straightforward, as I've talked about. So, that's why we are on the runway and going. So I talked about several legs, just point to point. No waypoints. This is the group. So we're going to be heading over pieces of Africa here. So we are heading toward Timbuktu. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But we're getting off here out of Dakar. And, you know, as you can see, we've got 840 miles to go. And we're really flying over low terrain, so definitely no need to do anything crazy and go further than we are. Now, again, are we where we should be going? Doesn't seem right. Interesting. Okay. Things are connected. Oh. Alright, so hopefully, yeah, I guess we are facing the right way. It just looks like we're going down the coastline. I was not expecting that, but yeah, somehow our Navigraph Simlink wasn't up. But that is north, which I guess I could tell from where we were heading here that we're headed basically 90. I'm just like, we're not turning. The autopilot's not working. But it is. So, all I'm going to do, we're going to let Sarah do her thing. She's on, so, or she should be on, because we don't normally have to do anything, but we're not going to load up the Tour Tuner tracker, because there's no waypoints. They are out there, just, again, so people know that they weren't skipped. 845 nautical miles, as we talked about. And so we're going Senegal, Mauritania, and Mali. So all he's got, we're just going to read it all because I'm then going to go away and we're going to land. And this will just be a VFR here with her sharing what she chooses to share. Let me, I guess, get myself fully set here. Again, we want to get to the TBM 850 level where we're close to the red line, but not regularly over it. There we go. I think we're good there. That should get us about another 10 or 15 knots, which is always great because we were at 224. You can see now we're at 235. So here we go. Timbuktu is a name synonymous with a far-off exotic locale. It has been used in plays, songs, books, and movies as a sort of placeholder name for somewhere far away, for so long that people are frequently surprised to find out that it's a real place. Well, it is, and that's where we're heading today. During the Renaissance period, Timbuktu was a flourishing trade center, being at the confluence of several Saharan caravan routes and just 12 miles north of the Niger River. It was also well known for its university and its role in the spread of Islam across northern Africa. Head east
Since we're flying near Dakar, let's talk about Leopold Sédar Senghor International Airport. This airport was named after Senegal's first president, who was also a renowned poet and philosopher. It served as Dakar's main international gateway for decades and was a key refueling stop for transatlantic flights before modern jets could make the journey nonstop. The airport has seen everything from early propeller-driven airliners to the Concorde making stops here. Aviation enthusiasts might appreciate that it was a strategic hub during World War II and later for Air Afrique, the Pan-African airline.
All right. Didn't want to talk over Sarah, but she will come in. She'll tell you stuff as we go along. That's part of the journey here, and really all we can get because the narrative is just giving us what we've got. So we've got a little bit here to finish. Head east from Dakar across the southern Sahara. This area is still fairly desolate, but you're on the south edge of the Sahara where it's beginning to morph into the rainforests of Central Africa, so signs of life are everywhere. Enjoy the scenery on your way to Mali and Timbuktu, and it's the French spelling, which I know you can't see. That is Tombouctou Airport. So we're going to Timbuktu Airport. And I assume that is because Mali is a French colony protectorate, whatever it is. I think they're all independent at this point, but they probably started out French, like Morocco, which is why they speak French there, things like that still. So anyway, that is it for this leg. And as I said, I won't say unfortunately. I mean, this is what this area of the Earth gives us. It's just sparsely populated, therefore not a lot of points of interest from the air. And so as part of the tour of the world, we are flying over it so that you can kind of say, hey, I've gone over every country or a lot of countries. So that gets us that. But that's what we have. Probably, it says 3 hours, 21 minutes. We are up to speed, so we should be fine. I did forget to mention at the end of last leg, we were pretty low on fuel, so that 973 is probably, getting close. We might be able to do a 1,000-mile leg. It did say that was one of the longest legs on the tour, so it's possible we won't have too many up near that 1,000 nautical mile mark, but we're still, just heading not quite due east. We're going a little bit north. You can see DTK 086, so we're flying at 86 degrees, and we will get near Timbuktu, and we will land, and we'll have this leg behind us, but enjoy whatever Sarah chooses to share.
Since we're flying near Thies, let me tell you about the city itself. Thies is one of Senegal's largest cities and a major railway hub, which made it a key player in the country's colonial and post-independence history. The city is famous for its tapestry workshops. These are not your grandma's wall hangings, but internationally renowned works of art that have been exhibited around the world. These also played a significant role during the construction of the Dakar-Niger Railway, which helped connect West Africa's interior to the coast. If you look down, you might spot the grid-like patterns of the city and the railway lines snaking through the landscape. And here's something. Thies is known for its baobab trees, which look like they've been plucked straight from a doctor. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let's talk about the closest city, Rufisque. This city is one of Senegal's oldest port towns, dating back to the 15th century when Portuguese traders first arrived. Rufisque was once a bustling hub for peanut exports. Yes, peanuts. And its colonial architecture still hints at its past importance. The city played a key role during the French colonial era, and you can still spot some old warehouses and railway lines from above. If you squint, you might even imagine the steam trains and cargo ships that once made this place the peanut capital of the region. Since we're in the skies east of Thebes, let me tell you about the closest city you might spot out the window: Bombay. Bombay is a small but lively town known for its agricultural research center, which has helped Senegal become a leader in peanut and millet production. The area is dotted with fields that look like a patchwork quilt from above, Mother Nature's own art project. Bombay is also home to the University of Bambi, which draws students from across the region. And here's something: the town is famous for its weekly market, where you can find everything from fresh produce to handmade crafts. We're currently over the region near the town of Diourbel. Diourbel is known for its impressive mosque, which stands out in the landscape and is a key site for the Mouride Brotherhood, one of Senegal's largest Sufi Islamic orders. The town itself grew rapidly in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, thanks in part to the peanut trade. Yes, peanuts again, which brought railways and new settlers to the area. If you look down, you might spot the circular layout of the town, a design that's quite unique in Senegal. Here's something. Diourbel is also famous for its bustling weekly market, where you can find everything from colorful fabrics to, you guessed it, more peanuts. Since we're flying in a fairly rural area southwest of Dodgy Airport, let me tell you about Dodgy itself. Dodgy is a small town that serves as a gateway to the Furlough region, which is famous for its sprawling savannas and herds of cattle. The area is a hotspot for nomadic herders, and from the air, you might spot the patchwork of grazing lands and the occasional herd moving across the landscape. The Dodgy airstrip is a lifeline for the community, especially during the rainy season when roads can be tricky. Since we're flying over this part of Senegal, let me tell you about the closest city you might spot from the air, Linguere. Linguere is known as the gateway to the Furlough region, a vast stretch of savanna that's home to nomadic herders and some of the country's most important cattle markets. The town itself grew up as a railway stop in the early 20th century, and you can still see traces of the old rail lines from above. Linguere is famous for its weekly livestock market, where you'll see everything from goats to camels. It's basically the animal version of a traffic jam. The area is also dotted with baobab trees, which look like giant upside-down broccoli from the sky. Since we're flying through this part of Senegal, let me tell you about the closest city you might spot from above. Dakhra. Dakhra is a small but bustling town that's famous for its massive weekly livestock market, one of the largest in West Africa. Traders from all over the region gather here to buy and sell cattle, sheep, goats, and even the occasional camel. The town sprang up as a key stop along the old Dakar-St. Louis Railway, and you can still see traces of the railway's path cutting through the landscape. Dara is surrounded by the open savanna of the Furlough region, so from up here the town looks like a little oasis of activity in a sea of grass. We're currently flying near the small town of Mbiluka. Mbiluka is a classic example of a Sahelian settlement, surrounded by the sweeping savannas of northern Senegal. From above, you might notice the distinctive round huts with thatched roofs, which are designed to keep cool in the intense heat. The area is dotted with acacia trees, and, if you're lucky, you might spot herds of cattle being moved by local Fulani herders, a tradition that goes back centuries. The town is also known for its traditional markets, where locals trade everything from millet to handmade crafts. Since we're flying over this part of Senegal, let me tell you about the closest notable spot, the Senegal River. This mighty river is one of West Africa's major waterways, stretching over 1,000 miles from Guinea through Mali and Mauritania, before reaching Senegal. Historically, it was a lifeline for trade and transport, long before highways and airplanes took over. The river's fertile banks have supported agriculture for centuries, and you might even spot the patchwork of irrigated fields from up here. In the dry season, the river becomes a gathering place for wildlife. Think of it as the local watering hole, but with fewer tourists and more hippos. Since we're flying through this part of northern Senegal, let me tell you about the closest city you might spot from above, Matam. Matam sits right along the Senegal River, which forms the border with Mauritania. The city is a lifeline for the region, especially during the dry season when the river becomes the main source of water and transport. Matam has a long history as a trading post, dating back to the days when caravans crossed the Sahara. Since we're flying near Urosogui, let's talk about Urosogui Airport. This airport with the code GOSM is a vital link for the eastern part of Senegal. It's not exactly a bustling international hub, but it's a lifeline for the local community, especially during the rainy season when roads can turn into rivers. The airstrip is often used by small propeller planes and the occasional adventurous bush pilot. Here's something. The region around Urosogui is known for its dramatic seasonal changes, so pilots get a front row seat to the transformation from dry savanna to lush green landscapes after the rains. Since we're flying in this part of eastern Senegal, let me tell you about the town of Kidira. Kidira is a key border town where Senegal meets Mali, and it's a major crossing point for both rail and road traffic. The Dakar-Bamako Railway passes through here, making it an important stop for trains traveling between the two countries. From the air, you might spot the railway lines and the bustling activity around the border post. Kidira has long been a gateway for trade and travel, and it's one of those places where you can see the blend of cultures from both Senegal and Mali. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let's talk about the closest city, SayIntentions. SayIntentions is a small town in southern Mauritania, and while it might not be a tourist hotspot, it's a great example of how communities thrive in the Sahel region. The town is surrounded by savanna and acacia trees, and from the air, you can spot the patchwork of fields and the occasional herd of goats or cattle. Life here revolves around the rhythm of the seasons, with people relying on both farming and herding. SayIntentions is also a stop for travelers heading between Mauritania and Senegal, so it's got a bit of a crossroads vibe. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest airport, SayIntentions Airport. This small airport is a vital connection for the town of SayIntentions and the surrounding region in southern Mauritania. It's not exactly a bustling international hub, but it plays a crucial role during the rainy season when roads can become impassable. The airstrip is mostly used by small propeller planes, and it's a lifeline for medical supplies, food, and the occasional adventurous traveler. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Kayes. Kayes is often called the pressure cooker of Africa because of its incredibly high temperatures, sometimes reaching over 45 degrees Celsius, 113 degrees Fahrenheit, in the hot season. The city sits on the banks of the Senegal River and was founded in the 19th century as a French colonial outpost. It became a key stop on the Dakar-Niger Railway, which was a major engineering feat for its time and helped open up the interior of West Africa. From the air, you might spot the river snaking through the landscape and the old railway bridge that still stands as a testament to the city's role in connecting West Africa. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Kayes. Kayes is often called the pressure cooker of Africa because of its incredibly high temperatures, sometimes reaching over 45 degrees Celsius, 113 degrees Fahrenheit, in the hot season. The city sits on the banks of the Senegal River and was founded in the 19th century as a French colonial outpost. It became a key stop on the Dakar-Niger Railway, which was a major engineering feat for its time and helped open up the interior of West Africa. From the air, you might spot the river snaking through the landscape and the old railway bridge that still stands as a testament to the city's role in connecting West Africa. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Nioro du Sahel. Nioro du Sahel is a historic town in western Mali, and it's been an important stop for centuries on the trans-Saharan trade routes. Caravans loaded with salt, gold, and other treasures would pass through here, making it a bustling crossroads long before airplanes were even a dream. The town is also known for its Friday Mosque, a classic example of Sudano-Sahelian architecture with its mud brick walls and wooden beams sticking out like toothpicks. If you could see it from above, it almost looks like a sandcastle built by a very ambitious child. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Nioro du Sahel. Nioro du Sahel is a historic town in western Mali, and it's been an important stop for centuries on the trans-Saharan trade routes. Caravans loaded with salt, gold, and other treasures would pass through here, making it a bustling crossroads long before airplanes were even a dream. The town is also known for its Friday Mosque, a classic example of Sudano-Sahelian architecture with its mud brick walls and wooden beams sticking out like toothpicks. We're currently flying over a remote stretch of western Mali, and the closest notable spot is Yelimane Airport. This small airport serves the town of Yelimane, which is a crucial stop for travelers and traders moving through this part of the Sahel. The airstrip is a lifeline for the community, especially during the rainy season when roads can become impassable. Yelimane itself has been a crossroads for centuries, with caravans passing through on their way to and from the Sahara. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest airstrip, Yellowmane Airport. This small airstrip serves the town of Yellowmane in western Mali. It's a crucial stop for travelers and traders moving through the Sahel, especially when the rainy season turns roads into mud baths. The airstrip is mostly used by small planes, and it's a lifeline for medical evacuations and supply runs. Yellowmane itself has been a crossroads for centuries, with caravans passing through on their way to and from the Sahara. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest notable spot, the town of Nara. Nara is a small but important town in western Mali, serving as a key administrative center for the region. It's a bit of an oasis in the Sahel, surrounded by stretches of arid land and scattered acacia trees. Nara has long been a stop for traders and travelers moving between Mali and Mauritania, and its weekly market is famous for drawing people from miles around. Think of it as the local version of a big city farmers market, but with more camels. The town is also a hub for herders, and from above, you might spot the circular enclosures used for livestock. Since we're flying over this part of Mauritania, let me tell you about the closest city you might spot from above, Tintaini. Tintaini is a small but important town in the Haut-Delgarbi region, and it's known as a crossroads for travelers and herders moving between the interior of Mauritania and the border with Mali. The town is surrounded by the classic Sahelian landscape. Think endless stretches of scrubland dotted with acacia trees and the occasional herd of camels. Tintaini has long been a stop for caravans, and you can still see traces of old trade routes from above. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Timbuktu. Timbuktu is a small but significant town in southeastern Mauritania, serving as a regional hub for nomadic herders and traders. The town sits at the edge of the Sahel and the Sahara, so from above, you can often see the dramatic transition from grassy savanna to sandy desert. Timbuktu is known for its lively weekly market, where people from miles around gather to trade livestock, grains, and handmade goods. The area is also famous for its traditional Mauritanian tents, called kaimas, which dot the landscape and look like little white specks from the air. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Nima. Nima is the largest town in southeastern Mauritania and serves as a key administrative and commercial center for the region. The town sprang up as a stop along old caravan routes, and it still has that crossroads feel today. Nima is surrounded by the dramatic landscapes of the Sahel, with sandy stretches and scattered acacia trees visible from above. The town is also the terminus of the only paved road that runs all the way from the Mauritanian capital, Nouakchott, making it a vital link for trade and travel. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Nima. Nima is the largest town in southeastern Mauritania and serves as a key administrative and commercial center for the region. The town sprang up as a stop along old caravan routes, and it still has that crossroads feel today. Nima is surrounded by the dramatic landscapes of the Sahel, with sandy stretches and scattered acacia trees visible from above. The town is also the terminus of the only paved road that runs all the way from the Mauritanian capital, Nouakchott, making it a vital link for trade and travel. Since we're flying over this part of southeastern Mauritania, let me tell you about the closest notable spot, Nima. Nima is the largest town in this region and has long been a crossroads for traders and travelers making their way across the Sahel. The town sprang up along old caravan routes, and even today, you can feel that sense of adventure in the air, minus the camels, of course. Nima is the end of the only paved road running all the way from the Mauritanian capital, Nouakchott, making it a vital link for trade and supplies. From above, you might spot the patchwork of sandy stretches and scattered acacia trees that surround the town. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Nima. Nima is the largest town in southeastern Mauritania and serves as a key administrative and commercial center for the region. The town sprang up as a stop along old caravan routes, and it still has that crossroads feel today. Nima is surrounded by the dramatic landscapes of the Sahel, with sandy stretches and scattered acacia trees visible from above. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Nima. Nima is the largest town in southeastern Mauritania and serves as a key administrative and commercial center for the region. The town sprang up as a stop along old caravan routes, and it still has that crossroads feel today. Nima is surrounded by the dramatic landscapes of the Sahel, with sandy stretches and scattered acacia trees visible from above. The town is also the terminus of the only paved road that runs all the way from the Mauritanian capital, Nouakchott, making it a vital link for trade and travel. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Bassakounou. Bassakounou is a small town in southeastern Mauritania, and it's a real outpost on the edge of the Sahara. The town is known for its resilience. Life here revolves around adapting to the harsh desert environment. Bassakounou has become an important administrative center for the region, and it's also a hub for humanitarian efforts, especially during times of drought. From the air, you might spot the patchwork of small farms and the winding tracks that connect the town to the rest of Mauritania. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Bassakounou. Bassakounou is a small town in southeastern Mauritania, and it's a real outpost on the edge of the Sahara. The town is known for its resilience. Life here revolves around adapting to the harsh desert environment. Bassakounou has become an important administrative center for the region, and it's also a hub for humanitarian efforts, especially during times of drought. From the air, you might spot the patchwork of small farms and the winding tracks that connect the town to the rest of Mauritania. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Fassala. Fassala is a small town right on the border between Mauritania and Mali, and it's a real gateway for travelers and herders moving between the two countries. The town is surrounded by the classic Sahelian landscape. Think endless stretches of scrubland, acacia trees, and the occasional herd of camels. Fassala has long served as a stop for nomadic groups, and it's known for its traditional markets where you might see everything from handmade crafts to livestock. The area is also a hub for humanitarian efforts, especially during times of drought, making it a lifeline for many communities in this remote part of the world. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Fassala. Fassala is a small town right on the border between Mauritania and Mali, and it's a real gateway for travelers and herders moving between the two countries. The town is surrounded by the classic Sahelian landscape. Think endless stretches of scrubland, acacia trees, and the occasional herd of camels. Fassala has long served as a stop for nomadic groups, and it's known for its traditional markets where you might see everything from handmade crafts to livestock. We're flying over a remote stretch of southeastern Mauritania, and the closest notable spot is the town of Fassala. Fassala sits right on the border between Mauritania and Mali, making it a gateway for travelers and herders moving between the two countries. The area is classic Sahel, endless scrubland, scattered acacia trees, and the occasional herd of camels. Fassala has long been a stop for nomadic groups, and its traditional markets are a sight to behold, with everything from handmade crafts to livestock. It's also a hub for humanitarian efforts, especially during tough times like droughts. So this little town punches well above its weight in importance. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Timbuktu. Timbuktu is legendary in the world of exploration and adventure, once considered so remote that it became a byword for the ends of the earth. Founded in the 12th century, it became a major center for trade, scholarship, and Islamic culture. The city is famous for its ancient mud brick mosques and its libraries, which house manuscripts dating back hundreds of years. Imagine the caravans of camels that used to roll into town, loaded with gold, salt, and stories from across the Sahara. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Dire. Dire is a small town on the Niger River in Mali, and it's known for its bustling weekly market that draws people from all over the region. The town has been an important trading post for centuries, thanks to its strategic location along the river. From the air, you might spot the winding Niger River and the patchwork of fields that surround the town. Dire is also famous for its traditional mud brick architecture, which helps keep buildings cool in the intense Sahel heat. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Dire. Dire is a small town on the Niger River in Mali, and it's known for its bustling weekly market that draws people from all over the region. The town has been an important trading post for centuries, thanks to its strategic location along the river. From the air, you might spot the winding Niger River and the patchwork of fields that surround the town. Dire is also famous for its traditional mud brick architecture, which helps keep buildings cool in the intense Sahel heat. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Goundam. Goundam is a fascinating little town in Mali, sitting right on the edge of the Sahara. It's known for its proximity to several seasonal lakes, which magically appear and disappear depending on the time of year. Talk about nature's disappearing act. Goundam has been a stop for traders and travelers for centuries, especially during the days when camel caravans were the original long-haul truckers. The area is also famous for its traditional mud brick architecture, which is not just stylish, but also keeps things cool when the sun is doing its best impression of an oven. Since there aren't any major landmarks right below us, let me tell you about the closest city, Tonka. Tonka is a small town nestled near the Niger River, and it's famous for its seasonal lakes that appear like magic during the rainy season. These lakes attract all sorts of birds, so if you look closely, you might spot flocks of flamingos or herons taking a break from their long journeys. The town itself is a hub for local fishermen, who use traditional boats called pirogues to navigate the waterways. Tonka's market days are legendary in the region. People travel from miles around to trade fish, grains, and handmade goods.
Alright, we are getting really close here. So we'll see what she says. Sarah, tell us about Timbuktu. Alright, so we are
Timbuktu is one of the most legendary cities in the world. Founded in the 12th century and once a major center for trade, Islamic scholarship, and culture. It attracted scholars from all over Africa and the Middle East, with its famous Sankore University and libraries housing thousands of ancient manuscripts, some dating back to the 13th century. The city was a hub for caravans carrying gold, salt, and other treasures across the Sahara, and its mud brick mosques, like Gooy-Gatb Mosque built in 1327, are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. For centuries, European explorers dreamed of reaching Timbuktu, considering it the ultimate destination at the edge of the known world.
Alright, we are gonna dive down a bit. Oh, well, hold on. We probably wanna do it at 1500 because we're not very far away. So, interesting. So, let's see. I'm probably... Yeah, we need to turn. So, we've passed the runway. It's not a very long runway. I think it's over there. So let's get ourselves there and see if we can do this. It may be a bit too much, but we'll see. Okay. So we should be okay. But yeah, I was kind of I don't know why I was expecting it to be sea level. That's kind of dumb now that I really think on it. But yeah, we're 2.5 miles out, so not too bad. But one runway. And kind of out here, but yeah, it's still sparse. It's a lot more sparse than I thought, given, you know, its famousness for being used for somewhere very far away. But I suppose they may not have much going on, so obviously then they'd have less need for anything. And I mean, obviously an airport is easy because even no matter how small you are, little planes like me can bring you stuff. And but yeah, I don't even know that this thing has a terminal. It might just literally be I don't know. We'll see. Let's focus on landing. Oh, we bounced a little, huh? Yeah, I don't think there's literally any buildings. There's a tower, though, which is kind of interesting, but why is my brake not working? Maybe I was just, like, I don't see... Do we not have any taxiways? Maybe these are taxiways. Okay. Yeah, I think this on the sand is a taxiway. There we go. Okay.
Approaching runway 25.
Seems unlikely, but okay. We left runway 25. Is this like uphill? I don't understand. Why are we having difficulty moving here? Like, I don't understand why it's just sitting there. I kept moving the throttle. Just wasn't doing anything. Alright, so we'll get ourselves up against this hangar. I guess it does do a few little puffs. I'm like, you would think there'd be a good amount of dirt coming up here, but... Alright, so we will put our parking brake on, turn everything off. Oops, move that. Alright, and we are here. So again, as I talked, let me just take a quick look so you know what to expect. So I'm trying to remember, I think I had a period where I had clicked away and didn't realize it, so I do apologize for that. Alright, yeah, I've got 2 more legs. Now, the next one is just point to point. The one after does have 1 waypoint again, so leg 40. But I think that's simply because it's trying to keep us again from not cutting across water and keeping us overland. So, but yeah, so at least the next 2, not terribly scenic. I know Sarah was coming on pretty regularly, just talking about various things. This wasn't one I could sit and listen, but I would hear periodically while I was doing what I needed to do through the headset that there was something being said. I just didn't have the headset on because I knew there wasn't much I needed to pay attention to, and it was just letting you guys enjoy the flight. But we are here in Timbuktu. Obviously, next time we will be taking off from Timbuktu, so hopefully that will be, well, I know it won't be eventful in that regard in that it's got 0 stops, so I know it's just from here to the next place, but I think it just kind of takes us south back to the coast, kind of the, Africa kind of goes back over where you almost have like a southern coastline. So I think we're going to be heading there, basically going out over the Niger River, which is just south of here, and that will be next week's leg. But we are done with this week's leg, and hopefully you've enjoyed something of it. If you have not liked or subscribed, please consider that. We're going to get back to maybe something that's more interesting to you in a bit, but, this is part of getting around the world. We follow the plans that are laid for us, and we enjoy, in whatever way we can, what we have. But I will see you next time.